across the desert to visit a king in Baghdad, and the route takes them through Damascus, oldest city in the world that is still standing. The up-to-date American motor equipment rolls into the metropolis of the Arab world, the city that was the capital of Islam when the Arabs were riding to conquest and empire. It was a fortress held by Saladin when he fought the Crusaders. Damascus was ancient when the Apostle Paul departed through that eastern gate to sally forth and give Christianity to the Gentile world. Today, this area of the Near East is shrouded by the doubt and turmoil of war. In fact, the Thaw expedition was the last to journey and film in these parts before the outbreak of the European War closed the country to motion picture travel, which adds much to our interest in all this as we survey Damascus. A road sign out in the desert tells us that 600 miles of burning sands are between here and romantic Baghdad. A military highway, blazing hot, dusty, and dry. So where's an oasis? Here at Rutbah Wells. For centuries, a traditional oasis of the Bedouin tribes. Now this place of water is a way station for motorized traffic under military protection. An Iraqi desert patrolman stands guard against raids by camel riders of the Arab tribes. He's one of the myriad of soldiers of many races that have been trained in lands around the globe. Further on, a Royal Air Force camp. Here the word is not water, but oil. This is a station along the great oil pipeline from Iraq across the desert to the Mediterranean. It's under air protection in these times when nations with desperate fury are all striving for oil. The Desert Sentry performs British military evolutions, rather quaintly. The scene brings reminiscences of Lawrence of Arabia. I myself knew the mystery man, Colonel T. Lawrence, in the days when he was leading the revolt of the desert, winning domination for Britain, making possible scenes like this. A desert version of parading on guard at Buckingham Palace. Britain keeps guard at the stations along the oil pipeline. The desert here is critical territory on the road between the Nazi power coveting the Near East and the Japanese in the Far East. The camp tanks are full of water brought afar from desert oases. Now the expedition rolls on and on for its visit with royalty at Baghdad. And like a mirage, Baghdad arises from the desert. Baghdad of the Arabian Nights, magic city of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, dream town of the 1001 Nights. This is the Baghdad of today, capital of the Kingdom of Iraq, deeply involved in the disturbances of worldwide war. Baghdad, basking in the sun. And that's the historic Mosque of Hyder Khan. On we proceed to a royal reception. The boy King Faisal receives the Thaw expedition. The tiny monarch is the scion of a royal race of Araby, which was restored to kingly power by Lawrence of Arabia. The lad's grandfather and great-uncles were battle companions of Colonel Lawrence. Lawrence who did so much to place them on Arabian thrones. Here, Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence Thaw enjoy the hospitality of His 5-year-old Majesty, Faisal II, King of Baghdad. At the time of this visit, Iraq is governed by a regency which exercises power during the royal minority. The Prince Regent is Abdullah, uncle of the King. And this is still another visit to royalty, for the expedition calls on a great sheikh of the Bedouin who dwell in black tents. The tribe of the Beni Tanim. It numbers 20,000 in North Arabia, one of the most important of the desert clans of Iraq. The women of and grind their grain in the simple ways of old. Life here is what it might have been when Muhammad lived and brought the truth of Allah. For sport, they hunt with falcons, just as they have done for thousands of years. Arise, O men of Beni Tanim! My lord the Sheikh would enter among his people. For this prince of the desert, coffee is prepared. The Bedouin way is to pound the fragrant beans, pound them fine in an ancient mortar. And then the coffee is boiled in small quantities over charcoal embers, making it thick. Cigarettes for smoking? Or do you prefer the water pipe, the traditional hubble-bubble? The Sheikh Hassan el-Suail sits among his people. He is at ease, taking refreshment. But there's a task to be done by this dispenser of tribal justice in the desert. He holds a court of desert law beside a camel saddle, the traditional Bedouin seat of justice. There's bitter dispute, trouble in the trial, and to give testimony, a witness arises, and a circle is drawn around him in the sand, signifying an oath to speak truly. Instead of a camel, this modern sheikh rides in an American automobile going to an appointment in romantic Baghdad. He has extended an invitation to luncheon upon his return, and this the members of the expedition gladly accept. It's an experience of fascinating interest to be banqueted thus by a sheikh of Arabic. I know because I myself have often eaten the roast mutton served with rice floating in gravy, and I can vouch for the strength of its flavor. As for the other delicacies, well, they're something of a puzzle. At the dinner party in the black tent are the American minister and his wife, and the British ambassador and the French minister. In another tent, the sheikh's henchmen have their banquet, using nature's own dining utensils. Then a review of the tribal warriors is staged by the Sheikh Hassan el-Suail, and I can tell you that to be granted the lordly hospitality of a prince of the Bedouin is a break of luck indeed for any traveler.